Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Shasta College's online contemporary television. Hope everybody's doing well out there, as well as be expected. Um, Still grading your papers as usual. That goes an ongoing endeavor. So keep the faith, they will get done. Later on this week, I'm going to make an announcement about the last of the assignments. I'm going to wrap this thing up with maybe one more essay, a final project, and then your journals. That way, you're free to go do these papers, get them out of the way, because as you know, the whole system right now is different. We're improvising like jazz musicians, and so things are different. I'm not going to burden you guys with the entire syllabus, because right now we're going to kind of throw the syllabus out and kind of create it as we go along right now. So anyway, maybe 2 more written assignments. Well, 3 more if you count the journal. Anyway, in the journal, just like the journal that I've asked you to keep the whole time, that will be uploaded to Canvas. And if you don't have the ability to do that, you probably need to figure that out eventually, because everything from now on is going to be online, at least through the summer, because I'm teaching summer school online. So it's going to be mighty handy for you to do. If some of you are having trouble with technical stuff, you know, there's a program now at Chess College that's providing Chromebooks. If you don't have an up-to-date laptop or home computer, you have to check into Chess College. They have a funding now, and they bought a lot of these computers to lend to the students who are in need. So please do that and get high-speed internet. That's the world we live in. That's reality of our new world right now. But we'll work around it if you don't have it. We'll figure it out. Although I don't know how we view things I don't know how we do a television class without seeing clips or television shows. That's a little tricky. But you have your iPhones, and I know you love them. And so that's always one way to watch this stuff. It's probably how you maybe do watch everything. Anyway, if you having any issues with this stuff, you got to get a hold of me. You know how to do that. You know how to do that. Okay, tonight we're talking about reality TV. You've all probably watched your share of reality TV, and you feel bad about it, right? You should. I'm kidding. But from Beverly Hills Housewives to Jersey Shore, these series are really a phenomenon, and they're inexpensive to shoot, and so they're a cash cow to these streaming services that provide this stuff. Is it really reality, or are they playing up their reality? You put a camera on somebody, they're not really in a normal situation anymore. They know there's a camera there. They know they're going to be on camera, and things change. Just like Jean-Luc Godard famously said, as soon as you turn the camera on, the lie begins. But if you leave it on long enough, the truth may arrive, if you're lucky. So, reality TV, think it's only been around a couple years since Netflix and Hulu and all? No. I'm afraid it started long before that. And we're going to go back to the ancient times of 1971 America, the year I was in high school still. And there was a TV series that changed the face of television. It was called An American Family. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. An American Family. was filmed over a 5 or 6 month period in 1971. The show was broadcast on PBS. It was a PBS series, so it was very serious um, series. I mean, in those days, PBS was mostly considered an educational channel for serious documentaries and Shakespeare and the like. And so that's where this found a home. And they found a family that originally was actually from Oregon, but they settled in Santa Barbara, the Loud family. And people of my generation became addicted to this series. In those days, there's no binge watching. You had to wait each week for a new episode, and you couldn't wait to see the new episode. Now, is it as exciting as the Jersey housewives all bickering and trying to find their new boyfriend? In my opinion, yes, um, because it's a slice of life as we knew it in that time of American history, and they kind of represent. They're an upper class family in Santa Barbara that supposedly they were representing a typical American family. But I just had to break it to you, folks. There's no such thing. If you think there's a typical American family, you should start thinking another direction because we're all not typical. You, me, your family, my family, anybody's family. I love this term people throw out all the time. Oh, my family is very dysfunctional. My family was dysfunctional. Well, I ask this right now: whose family functions, and what is considered functional? If you have several human beings sharing a house, you're going to have some dysfunction, folks. And that's how it should be. That's the norm. And so if you think you're original by coming from a dysfunctional family, that's the media selling that to us to make us feel like we didn't have a normal upbringing or normal childhood. Because who's to say what's normal? Who are we judging this by? Who has the rules and the lists that this is normal and this isn't normal? And that's what this series explores. At first, they just thought they were going to see this typical American family, the Louds. It turned anything but typical. It has 3 boys and 2 girls. The boys are my age and my brother's age, so I related to them, the boys, very much. The dad was a good businessman, successful, and I related to his father very much because their dad was always saying, "Get a job, cut your hair, get a job, get into the world." And the sons had another idea. They wanted to be in rock bands. They wanted to move to New York. They wanted to hang out with Andy Warhol. The daughters were giving a little bit short shift because they were younger, and they're maybe 13 and 14 at the time, and so their concerns wasn't the typical concerns of a 13 or 14-year-old girl, but they were different from an 18 and 19-year-old boy who had possibly the draft hanging over their heads and what to do in a world that they didn't quite understand. And because it's the generation of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, they all wanted to be musicians and rock stars. And of course, the parents are going to fight that. The mother is an educated woman. She's still alive. She's in her 90s now. The father just died last year. He was 97. We loved her. Her name was Pat Loud. She was the mother you kind of wish you had. She was smart. She read books. Dissatisfied, unhappy, sarcastic, concerned about her kids, always chain smoking in every scene. This is in the day when people smoked in the house and they drank a lot of cocktails. So American Family was a phenomenon. Nobody ever seen this. This documentary film crew went in there and they lived with them, and it upended their lives. It made them celebrities for a time. after the show premiered, it was such a huge, huge phenomenon. People from all over the world were watching it. Then the Loud family became celebrities. Um, um, they were on Johnny Carson show, Dick Cavett show. They were on talk shows. People wanted to know more about them, and they became sort of victims of the television show and victims of editing, and that's a big deal. If you have hours, hundreds of hours of raw footage, you've got to edit it. And that means the filmmakers are going to tell their story through the footage they have. And is their story going to be the truth? Or is it going to be the story they want to show the audience? Is it their truth, not the Loud family truth? And so there was a controversial around it. Did they cross the border, meaning the boundary of privacy? Yes, they did. But the Louds allowed the cameras in. And they made a TV movie of it recently, a couple years ago. Really excellent. So you want to check out that movie. It's great. I can't think of the title right offhand, but it's out there. Stars Diane Lane, and she's great in it, playing Pat Loud. Anyway, it's a fictitious reworking of the documentary. James Gandolfini played the from The Sopranos, played the documentary filmmaker, and Tim Robinson played the father. Anyway, in the episodes of the Loud family, you start really connecting to them. You start relating to them. Now, maybe it's different now because now it's almost 50 years old, folks. This was set in a time after the 60s, but the 60s were very much prevalent in the country so this is going on in the country. We've got the rock and roll culture has really had a paradigm shift in our culture between the generations. My parents' generation was not accepting of it, and our generation grabbed onto it like a life preserver. And when I say my generation, I'm talking about the baby boomers. We grew up with the Beatles, the Stones, et cetera, and the filmmakers we've talked about, and these television shows I've mentioned. This is our ground for a huge part of the population. And at one time, the baby boomers, there were more people 25 and under than there were 25 and over, because the baby boom happened right after World War II, and everybody had 2 or 3 kids, maybe 4 kids. The Louds had 5 kids, and we're off and running. And it was at one time the baby boom kids were the highest education. They went to college more than any time in the history of our country. But they were kind of spoiled also because they saw that they could strive for something more than just working at a mundane job, getting married, having kids, owing debt, owing a house. They saw another avenue. And through literature, through the readings they're writing from great writers like Kurt Vonnegut and Joseph Heller and Richard Yates and Jack Kerouac, and through the films that were happening at the time, through great films like Easy Rider and 5 Easy Pieces and Chinatown and The Godfather, and with great TV series like MASH and Bob Newhart Show and Mary Tyler Moore Show, and etc. And so we're influenced by all of this, and then we were striving. We thought we could see something else out there that might be attainable if we dreamed hard enough and we went out and got it. But what you're going to have to do is probably go against your parents' desires. Your parents essentially wanted you to have a good, stable life. They don't have to support you. And so that meant going to get a job out there in the real world and kind of putting your childish dreams on hold. This series covers all that. And that's the brilliance of the series. These kids are busting at the seams to express themselves in the new world that they're going to be entering as adults. They're not adults yet. They're all under 20. And you're rooting for them. Is it going to work? Is it not going to work? Well, you'd have to watch the series to tell me if it works or not. Later on, they revisited the Loud family every so often. Books have been written about it. So you'll find out where they got to, where they went. Did it work for them? Did it not work? I think most of them have regrets that they got involved in it because, in a way, it just kind of destroyed their family. But they're always really close as siblings. It's destroyed their marriage. Bill and Pat, she in the middle of this reality TV, folks, remember, she asked for a divorce because Bill, the husband, was cheating on her, and she found out about it. And the cameras are rolling, and Pat asked for a divorce. Never been seen before, and it was real. They did get a divorce. And Lance, the older son, who came out of the closet as gay on camera. This had never been done before. It was a revelation. Meet Andy Warhol and to be involved in the New York scene of the music, the Velvet Underground, and Andy Warhol movies and the art scene. And he very much ingratiated himself into that scene. And there are great scenes of him in New York struggling with these people. And his mother comes out to visit, and she still supports him. She's for Lance. She doesn't put him down. She says, you ought to maybe think about getting a job. And he does. He works as a writer, and he does what he has to do. But his celebrity, eventually, after the show comes out, definitely helps him get inroads. Anyway, so this American family was mesmerizing to most of the country who had never seen anything like this before. And it was new territory. And now the nation is hungry for this stuff. Later on, we've had our appetite to see how other people live, and maybe do we relate to it? Are they weirdos? Are they freaks? No, they're more like us than we'd like to admit. I'm just watching a reality documentary right now. Maybe you've seen it, maybe you've heard about it on Netflix, called The Tiger King. Now, I'll tell you, to me, I'd love you guys to watch that show. If you got Netflix, please watch it. It's a freak show of the highest order. And I say that in all good kindness. It's people who are raising tigers in captivity, which I'm not for, because I wish they'd run free, but they're killing them in Africa. And so the Tiger King, who says he's going to save all these cats, maybe you've seen it. It's a huge ratings thing. I should make you watch it. It's on Netflix, though, so if you don't have Netflix, you're not going to be able to see it. Watch a couple episodes. You tell me what you think about it. The Tiger King. Maybe you've watched it. Maybe you're addicted to it. Maybe you've got Tiger King tattoos all over your body, like people are getting right now. It's crazy. It's a phenomenon. Well, the American family wasn't quite that, but it was a phenomenon. And it did change the landscape of television. And that's what this contemporary television is all about, is trying to find the bumps of change, how they happened, what was going on in the culture that made this change. And I just got done telling you briefly the 60s, civil rights, assassinations of our presidents and Martin Luther King, et cetera, rock and roll, Jimi Hendrix, and then people dying. Janis Joplin dying, Jim Morrison dying of drug overdose, Jimi Hendrix, the Beatles breaking up, the Vietnam War is raging in 1971. Thousands of young men, my age, 18 and 19, were going to Vietnam to fight a war, supposedly to fight communism, and they were coming back in body bags. Fact. Over 50,000 young men of my generation were killed fighting for a war that didn't pan out for anybody. We lost, we left, the commies lost. Now we're developing beach condos in Vietnam, beautiful country. History is cruel that way. History has a way of changing. our minds, and we move on to the next war. Anyway, so this movie was hitting the zeitgeist of this American kind of tragedy that was going on in the culture because of all these things happening. Plus, Richard Nixon was in the White House, and Watergate had happened, and he was being accused of masterminding Watergate. Eventually, they were coming after him to impeach him, and he resigned. Not yet. In a couple of years, Richard Nixon resigned the White House. So all this political turmoil was happening when This American Family aired 1973 on PBS. I'm going to talk about another series, but not right now because I don't want to bore you guys with too much of this. I would like, in a minute, I'll talk about another series later on this week called The Up Series, a brilliant reality TV series. I might call it that. It's a documentary about started in 1964 in England, and the filmmakers filmed 10 or 15 young children, all ages about 7, and once again my age, and they came to visit them every 7 years. They just released the newest one. They're all in their 60s now. Some of them are dead. Some of them don't want to participate. And they're still filming them every 7 years. That's over 50 years, folks, of seeing these people grow up. I'll talk about the Up series later. Hopefully you get to see some of those episodes. There's a great thing in the Up series where the narrator says, "Give me the child at 7, and I'll give you the adult." And you think to yourself, "Oh, that's ridiculous." But then watch the series and to see if these kids are any different from 7 to 21 to 28, all the way up to 63. And it's amazing how it's sort of true. I'll just give you an example for kids, and I'll talk about this later. When I was that age, I wanted to be in the TV. I wanted to live in the TV. I wanted to be on the movies. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to accomplish that. And here I am to this day. Okay, so maybe it's the same thing with you. We'll see. Test yourself. What were you like when you're 7? Do you remember? I bet you do. Anyway, on that note, try to watch episodes of American Family. If you have Amazon, you can watch the series there. If you don't, right now, Amazon is offering a 30-day free trial. After 30 days, if you don't want it, you can cancel it. No cost to you. So we've got 30 days left in this class, essentially. A little over, a little under. And so you can watch some of these series and cancel. You don't have to get it. I think it's about $10 or $11 a month. I don't want you guys to spend any money, but you can see The American Family. I wish you'd watch a couple of episodes because I'm probably going to ask you to write a paper about it. If you can't do that, you'll have to make it a research paper. And there's a lot of clips on YouTube, but not whole episodes. You have to pay for them. Anyway, we'll figure out a way around this. I'll keep you posted. I won't sign the papers till the end of the week, and later on this week. So please, American Family. It's on PBS. There's a lot of, if you Google it, you're going to see all this American stuff. It's called The American Family from 1973 PBS. That's how you find it. On that note, I hope you guys are staying safe, staying isolated, and washing your hands. I ordered a couple face masks. I put these on when I go to the store because now they're looking at you funny when you go to the store without one. I ordered a couple cool ones too. Yeah, they're red with respirators on the side. Designer. Anyway, but they haven't showed up yet. Anyway, this too shall pass. Keep the faith. Peace out. See you next time.